Okay, so let's make a little bit of a start on your session. So what we're going to do, because this is kind of a focusing around the potential diastasis recti, my first bit of advice to you is to get as comfortable as possible getting to know your own body. And what that does a lot of the time, and I'm hoping by the end of the session you really feel this, is we can banish the fear that often surrounds diastasis recti. You know, the idea of, oh, I shouldn't be doing that, I can't do that, that exercise will never work for me again. And the more that we can kind of touch the area and feel it and acknowledge it and understand what's happening, the more feedback we're sending to the brain, and the different feedback, so in different forms like touch, feel, look, it all helps the brain to connect new pathways to the muscles and the nerves in this area, which is ultimately that neuromuscular structure is what we're looking to improve upon. So what we want to do is, the more that we can kind of connect with this area, it's really common after pregnancy, because your body's changed so dramatically. The type of birth that you've had, for a lot of women, unfortunately, the birth can hold quite a lot of trauma behind it. So it's really common that we become quite dissociated with the area that we're not comfortable with, or that we don't like, or we're not happy with. But if that is the case, it's also then really unrealistic to expect that your core is going to work perfectly when you need it to in day-to-day life or in exercise. So it's all of this sort of diastasis recovery work, it's about the whole picture. It's this holistic approach, which I've talked a little bit about in my newsletter, but it's understanding that you don't just fix it by doing a few exercises that I've picked out of our routine. So let's begin with checking for diastasis, because I know some of you, that's a big question a lot of you have sent in, is how do you even know? So I'm going to ask you to begin by lying down onto your back and resting with your knees bent. And what I'll do is, if I just kind of lift up my top so I can show you directly on me. If you take your hands and you find the midline of your tummy, so for some of you it will be where the linea alba, that dark line, appeared during pregnancy, but it doesn't always occur for everybody that way. So what you can do is you can feel along that midline, and you'll start to get a little bit of a sense of where you have tension in the tissue and maybe where you have less of it. So for example, for me, at the top part here, if I have a press along my midline, it feels a little bit springy, a little bit like a trampoline that's got a bit of spring to it. And then when I get to around my belly button area, it's much softer, so it feels like my trampoline has lost its spring. Or maybe I'm right in the centre of the trampoline where it's got a little bit thinner as I've used it a lot. And then I come below my belly button and it feels like it firms up, or I get a little bit of tension back. So that gives me an indication of where my connective tissue is a little bit thinner, it's stretched a little bit more intensely, perhaps during, for me, I think it was my second pregnancy, and that's where I'm going to focus my attention now. So if I leave my fingertips and I rest them into that softer area, and I raise my head and shoulders just slightly from the bed, that I've got a little bit of separation, so I can feel the two sides of my abdominal muscles, and I can feel that there's a bit of a gap between them. And now what I want you to concentrate on is, in that gap is like never ending, so you feel like you disappear down into a hole, or do you feel like there's a gap behind it, like an end point? And on in this next section. So if you feel like the gap is very deep, that's more of something that we want to be aware of than we are concerned about the width. So the depth is what we're focusing on now. So keeping your fingers in that area, and it's also important to say, some of you might be here thinking, actually no, I don't really have any of that you're describing, in which case that's great, and the workout's still going to be really helpful for you, engaging your core, but you maybe don't have a diastasis, which is wonderful. So keeping my finger in the space where I felt that separation or that gap, I'm now going to take my other hand and I'm going to rest it on my chest here. So I'm going to take a breath in through my nose, and I want my hand at both places to rise together. So I'm feeling my chest and my abdomen rise and lift at the same time. And then I'm going to purse my lips like I'm blowing through a straw and exhale audibly until I've run out of breath entirely, and I'm going to feel as though both hands sink at the same time, and I'm going to do that just a couple more times. So I'm going to breathe in, letting my hands rise together, and I'm going to exhale, feeling them sink at the same time. And now as I do that a couple more times, I'm going to really focus on the feeling that I have around my fingertips where my diastasis was, or at my abdomen. And I'm also going to tune in, I might close my eyes and really focus on it too, to the feeling that I have in my lower abdominal area. And what's quite likely that you'll feel is within the last kind of 20% of that exhale, you might get a sense of the lower abdomen slowly starting to wake up and join in. You might get a feeling of some increased tension where you left your fingertips here. And that's a really good indicator that you're starting to tune into the deep abdominals. We're going to do that one more time, and I'm going to add some cues for you to see if you can increase that feeling of tension further. So you're going to breathe in. As you exhale, as if you're blowing up the balloon, you're going to imagine a pair of magnets on each hip or each side of your pelvis, drawing towards your center line as if you're bringing the magnets to meet underneath your belly button. I also want you to try to think about stopping yourself from passing wind in a supermarket queue, and then bringing that effort forwards. Imagine stopping the flow of urine on the toilet. Keep your fingertips in that space and feel for me now what that tension feels like compared to what it felt like at the beginning. Do one more round of that for me before we get stuck into our workout. So you're going to breathe in, letting your chest and your abdomen rise together. You're going to exhale with intent, and you're going to draw those magnets to meet underneath your belly button. Lift through the back passage like you're stopping wind. Lift through the front passage like you're stopping the flow of urine. And I'm hoping that you feel a sense of some change in the tension in your midline. And that is a sign that you're able then to connect with your core muscles, even if at the moment that feels on quite a low level. And it's what we're going to build upon as we work now through your session. So really well done. So from here, we're going to take our band if you've got one. If you're using a different prop like a towel, you can still rest it into the same space. And you're going to wrap it around the back of your rib cage for me. And then bring it around the front of the ribs and cross it over. So now we're going to use the band to support the idea of our rib cage reconnecting. So you're going to take your deep breath in through your nose, feeling your rib cage expand and feeling that the band sort of stretch as your ribs expand during the deep inhale. Through the mouth, you're going to gently pull on the two ends of your band like you're tightening the band around your rib cage as you exhale, and that encourages the ribs to draw in as we'd like them to during our exhale. You're going to inhale again, soften the tension on the band, let yourself breathe into the space that you're creating. Exhale through the mouth, same things that you were doing before, drawing those magnets together, lifting through the back passage, lifting through the front passage, but tightening over the front of your band, crossing it over. One more time for me. Inhale. And exhale, pull the band over like you're tightening it around you as if you're going to tie a knot in the front. And feel that sense of connection, that idea of everything just drawing together, wrapping together in your midline. Wonderful. Take the band now, either side of the band, either side of the rib cage. You're going to start with your elbows beside you. You're going to inhale as you've just been practicing. On the exhale, you're doing exactly as we've been working on, and you're going to push that band towards the ceiling, but keeping the rib cage stuck to the floor, stuck to the mat. You're going to inhale, soften, let the band come down. Exhale, reach the arms to the ceiling, really wrap those muscles around your center. So this is just waking up that core connection. You should feel like as you exhale and you're reaching the band away from you, that deeper sense of really engaging that core, like you've been practicing from the start now, is starting to fire up a little bit more strongly. Really nice work. Let's go for just a couple more. Fantastic. Now, if this is feeling really good, as you exhale, see if you can fold one knee towards your chest at the same time, so we get a little bit more work in the lower abs. Inhale, lower that foot to the floor. Exhale, float the opposite leg. Do the same thing on the other side. Inhale, float down. Nice. And if you're kind of a little bit further in your journey, you're feeling like this is all something you're fairly familiar with, try taking yourself into tabletop, making sure that you don't lose that connection at your center. So no feeling that your tummy's lifted from the mat, you haven't got a doming or a feeling of pressure in your abdomen or your pelvic floor. You're going to maintain tabletop position while you work. Inhale, soften the elbows. Exhale, reach in for the ceiling. Inhale, soften to come through. Couple more to go, just waking those abdominals up, making them feel ready for what's going to come. Exhale, working through that effort. Inhale, softening down. And remember that the best activation in that midline that we felt as we started was in that last 20% of your exhale. So make sure you've completed before you begin the next movement, even if that means slowing things down. Well done. Let's take ourselves out of that position. That's lovely. Okay, so from here we're going to move forwards with that folding scissors connection. So you've got two options here. Level one, you're going to inhale to prepare. As you exhale, you're going to float and then extend the foot away from you, creating that longer lever, a little bit more effort for the core to sustain. Inhale, come back and lower the foot down. Opposite side. Inhale, float up. Exhale, kick the foot away, really pointing right to the end of the mat. Inhale, float back. Exhale to lower. Keeping that going. So inhale, float. Inhale to prepare. And then exhale, lift and extend, feeling that sense of wrapping. And inhale, come back, exhale to lower. Carry on with that version if that feels like the right level for you. If you're ready to progress a little bit, let's take both feet off the floor. Again, checking that you haven't lost that body position. So rock the pelvis into neutral. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to extend the foot forwards. Inhale, float back. Exhale, opposite side. Inhale, float back. Exhale, kick through. Inhale, come back. Exhale to dart. Inhale, come through. Now carry on with whichever version feels right for you. We're going to work a little bit into fatigue now. There will be some of you here that are ready to progress further, taking the hands behind your head. You're going to exhale for me through the mouth as you round the back and shoulders from the floor. Exhale, extend. Inhale, come back. Exhale, extend. Inhale, come back. And what I want you to gain from this, and hopefully you're already a bit aware of it if you've worked through the chapter on diastasis this month, you have to challenge diastasis if you want to see progress. So don't feel like because you've got a diastasis you can never progress. It's really, really important actually for your recovery that you're choosing exercises that you're in control of, but you feel challenged at the same time. You should be starting to tire a little bit by now. So let's bring ourselves back, lowering one leg down at a time. Really nice work. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the position of our prop. So I'm going to turn the band now along the length of my mat. And like I said, you can use like a towel or something else if you've got it. But what you need to do is you need to have that prop supporting you behind your neck. So we are going to introduce some ab curls, and for a lot of things online you'll see people say never do sit-ups if you've got a diastasis, and it's just simply not true. So now that you've had this time to really familiarize yourself with that midline tension, you can take your hand to that area if you like, because you can use one hand to use your prop to support you up here. So as I take my breath in, my chest and my belly is rising together. As I'm exhaling, I am wrapping the abdominals, so I've got that idea of my magnets wrapping, or that feeling that we use the band to wrap around our rib cage, whatever felt most effective for you. You're going to lift through your back passage, you're going to lift up through the front passage, so the pelvic floor muscles are really connected. And when you feel that connection switching on, complete your exhale with your rounding up. Take your fingers to your diastasis point. If you feel some tension there and you don't see any doming, or you don't feel any pressure in your pelvic floor or your tummy, you're safe to move in that way. Inhale, lower yourself down. Now you can be in control. You might do just the beginnings of this movement, so you might get a tiny little raise, or you might feel like you can come right up into a deeper curl, and all that you need to focus on is what change or what you feel occurs through your midline. So inhale for me. Exhale, wrap the abdominals, lift through the pelvic floor, use that connection to support your curl, and inhale, soften your way back down. Exhale. Inhale, coming up. As you move in this way, think about your rib cage moving towards your pelvis as the key component to getting that movement to initiate. Try not to feel like you are just using the band or your hands, if you're just using your hands, to push the chin onto your chest. So that there, you're not getting any real connection to your core at all. So really feeling as though the abdominals are the ones that are lifting, working. You should feel that strongly into your abdomen, and inhale to release. A really good tip as you do it is your elbow shouldn't feel like it's coming past your peripheral vision. If you feel like your elbows are right in front of you here, you're probably doing too much work with your arms. Couple more then. So like I've said, I want you to feel challenged. I want you to feel like these tummy muscles know that they've done some work. And it's so lovely as well after you've had that period of pregnancy and postnatal to really get that feeling of your tummy working. It's such a refreshing feeling. Finish with the one that you're doing then for me, and then take your arms down beside you, and we're going to move from the opposite end. So remembering that we're looking at connecting the entire abdominal wall, the entire abdominal line. And for most of us during pregnancy, we end up left with this longer anterior line and a shortened posterior line. So what we're looking to do as we correct that is we're looking to shorten our anterior line once again. So to do that, from here we're going to inhale to prepare. We're going to exhale, we're going to rock our pelvis back like we're flattening our back into the floor, and then squeeze through your glutes to lift the hips from the floor. You want to feel as though you've got this nice straight line, like a rod from my breastbone to my pubic bone, not like a big arch for me to cross over a bridge. Inhale, soften your way down. Exhale, rock the pelvis back, then squeeze the buttocks to lift. Inhale, roll down. Exhale, rock the pelvis, squeeze the buttocks, lift to the top. If you want to, have a feel on your midline. Inhale, roll down. Exhale, roll up, squeezing those buttocks, make yourself work at that back point. Inhale, soften through. Exhale, rock back, squeeze the buttocks to lift. Inhale, come down. You're going to do one more for me. Exhale, rounding or tilting the back, squeezing the buttocks, lifting and finding bridge, maintaining your pose. So send your kneecaps over your middle toenails, squeeze into those buttocks and come back. You're going to do some pelvic floor exercises here, and usually this is a lovely position to connect to your pelvic floor because you've tilted all of the pressure that's normally down on top of them away. So we're going to take a breath in. We're going to do 10 slow connections. You're going to exhale through your mouth. Start from the back as if you're stopping wind. Bring it forwards to the front as if you're stopping the flow of urine. Inhale, imagine softening that effort. Exhale, work it again, zipping from your back passage to your front passage. Inhale, imagine that zip undoing. Exhale, lift through the back, lift through the front. Inhale, release. Exhale, work to lift, feel that connection through the pelvic floor. And inhale, soften. You should be feeling your bum starting to tire. Keep it going a couple more rounds, working with your breath pattern, having this really stable hold around your pelvis. So you're also strengthening the outside of your pelvis as you strengthen the inside of your pelvis. So we've got a really, really nice, strong, stable hold. Last couple, if you want to, take your fingers to the midline. As you work the pelvic floor, you'll feel a little bit of a change in the abdominal wall at the same time. Finishing with one more for me. Exhale. And inhale, roll down. Good. Just bring the knees to your chest for a moment. Let your lower back release, so you can wiggle the knees, rock from side to side, whatever you'd like. And we're going to go back to the bridge one more time. So if that felt already like quite a strong effort for you, feel free to do another round of just your simple bridges. I'm going to take you up a gear because I also want you to start to have ways in which you can functionally strengthen the body. So anyone that's looking to go back to things like running, or even if you do lots of walking, it's single leg side strength that's important. So as we exhale this time, we're going to fold the knee towards our chest without the opposite hip dropping. You're going to inhale, replace. Opposite side, exhale, fold. Inhale, replace. So carrying on for me, working through this position if you can. If it feels too much for you, go back to your simple bridge raise and lower. Raise and lower, using your breath all the time. Hopefully it's becoming really obvious if it's not already by now. Your breathing is so key if you're going to be working on diastasis, but also just generally for getting good core function. So we're going to just do a couple more, making sure that we've done equal on each side. Feeling that hopefully sense of strength and power coming through the back of the glutes. Nice work. Ease your way down. See if you can roll your spine down now like a string of beads, releasing segment by segment as you find your way back to the floor. Good work. Really nice. Well done, guys. Let's keep going. Let's take our next prop. So if you're using an alternative like a towel, just roll your towel up here, and we're going to place our ball between our knees, and we're going to lie ourselves onto our elbow, knees bent up in front of me, so my ankles, hips and shoulders feel like they're in a line. So my first thing is to feel my connection once again here. So in this position, what I don't want to do is like slouch down. So I'm going to push through my elbow, and I'm going to feel that nice triangle in this space here, and that allows me to connect a bit with my obliques. I'm going to breathe in, allowing my chest and my belly to expand. And as I exhale, I'm going to squeeze my knees together. I'm going to pull those magnets to meet underneath my belly button, and I'm going to lift through my pelvic floor. And coming into that position where I feel my midline, this feels like a really nice connection for me. And for a lot of people, side lying is a great way for you to practice connection to your core. So we're going to do just a couple more of those. Inhale, release, and then exhale, squeeze to connect before we wind things up. Well done. And actually using some of the surrounding muscles, so in this case our obliques, that's fine, you know, it's part of the core, and actually we don't use muscles in isolation in real life. We use them together in a way that's functional. So if this feels like it's about your limit, stay there. But if you can do a little bit more, we're going to exhale, squeeze the ball together, and we're going to raise the hips towards the ceiling. We're going to inhale to lower. Exhale, raise to the ceiling. Inhale to lower. Exhale, raise to the ceiling. Still working that same connection that we spoke about at the start. So getting that sense of power through the core. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Last one, exhale, lift. And inhale, lower. Lovely. Take yourself down now, lying out onto your side. So the other thing that I want to really make clear in this session, it's not always just about strength either. We have to also look at what is affecting the pressure around our midsection. So a really common one is tightness or stiffness higher up the chain. So stiffness around your rib cage, your thoracic spine, really common with our day-to-day postures these days, has to be released in order for that pressure not to feel like it's being kind of squeezed from the top and coming down through the line here. So you're going to keep your hand on your rib cage. You're going to take a nice deep breath in, and you're going to use that hand to almost open and assist the rib cage opening towards the ceiling. Exhale, bring yourself back onto your side. Inhale, open up, really allow yourself to use the rib cage movement. And exhale, come back through. So if you're used to doing this with an arm open, that's okay, but for a lot of us, what we tend to do is we get to a point where the shoulder just almost like drops back, and we end up with this strong stretch through the front of the shoulder girdle. Whereas what we're really looking to achieve for the diastasis purpose is movement through our thoracic spine. So I sort of prefer this bent elbow position where you can almost assist the rib cage mobility yourself. Good. And let's just go for one more of those. It's quite a nice stretch anyway in the morning. Lovely. Well done, guys. Looking good. And ease yourself back round to the front. So we're going to come on to all fours. We'll come back to the opposite side in a little bit. So sticking with that theory of movement through our thoracic spine, we're going to come onto all fours, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. You're going to inhale for me, and then exhale, rounding through the back, really tucking through the tailbone. Take the chin towards your chest and feel around the area where your bra strap would be. Really lift. Inhale, let the belly drop, lift the head, lift the breastbone, lift the tailbone. Exhale, rounding through the back, bringing your abdominal wall with you, so you lift through the abdominal wall. And inhale, soften, relax and open. Exhale, rounding through the back, tucking through the tailbone. Getting that sense of mobility come through the back. And with a small shift this time, I'm going to take both my hands over to the right side of the room, and I'm going to carry on with my cat stretching, but with that slight side bend. So in this position, I've taken my hands to the right side, and I'm feeling as I work into the cat, my left side opens a little bit more strongly. And if I can really work with my breath there as well, I get a sense of kind of breathing into my left lung. I get a better sense of opening that space. So when you're ready to, I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to take my hands over to the left side of my mat. I'm going to carry on with my cat stretches. But I'm going to be breathing more directly into my right lung now. So exhale to lift. And inhale to lower. Good, just a couple more of those. And it's a really nice chance as well, maybe just for you to tune in a little bit more to your body and get a sense of like, oh, actually, you know, that is an area maybe that is a little bit tight and I wasn't expecting it, or I hadn't been aware of it before. Good, so finish with what you're doing. Coming back to centre, let's do one more in centre. Well done. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to use this position to connect again with our anterior line. So we've now got gravity working against us, so it's a little bit more of a challenging exercise anyway. So you are going to inhale, reaching opposite arm and leg as long as possible along the length of your mat. As you exhale, you're going to crunch the knee and the elbow towards one another as if they're going to meet underneath your belly button. And then we're going to stay on the same side. Inhale, lengthen away. Exhale. So remember what you did in the cat curl. As you exhale, you lifted the abdominal wall. Inhale, reach and lengthen. Exhale, lift that abdominal wall, really intentional exhale. The more that you get that power, the more you get the diaphragm and the pelvic floor joining in. So that full core system engaging. Good, 2 to go. Inhale, reach. Exhale, squeeze. And really think about, as you reach away, you shouldn't be letting the belly button drop. So we're not going back to, like you did in cat curl, where we let it drop. We're looking to keep it neutral and then add the rounding. You're going to go straight over onto the opposite side. Inhale, lengthen and reach away. Exhale, tuck, squeeze. Inhale, lengthen away. Exhale, really crunch that elbow and knee to your center point. Don't worry if you can't come all the way, if you can't touch the elbow and the knee, that's okay. You're just coming into that line. Nice work, well done. And as we go into this Superman pose, we're also doing some really nice work with strengthening the back of the shoulder, strengthening the back of the hip, all of those things that help us in day-to-day life as well. Good, last one. Good stuff. Okay, so from here, let's just take ourselves back. So we're going to take our tailbone to the heels. You can open the knees wider if you want to into modified child's pose or normal child's pose, whatever you're most comfortable in. And all you're going to do is just 3 rounds of breath, deep breaths, really kind of focusing your inhale into the back of the rib cage now. And you can play around with it. If you like to, you could cross your hands over one another so you breathe into the left lung. Similarly, then do the other side, breathe into the right lung. Maybe doing what you felt needed more that you gathered from your cat stretching pose. So use this as a chance to do what feels good for you. But again, we're just encouraging more release through the rib cage. Remember what I've spoken about in lots of our other sessions. It's really common after pregnancy that your ribs open and they kind of flare. So the more that we can do to help encourage those into position again, the better. Good, finishing the one that you're doing. So we're going back to our side lying series on the opposite side now. So I'm taking my prop, my ball between my knees. I've got my ankles, hips and shoulders aligned and I'm resting onto my elbow. So first things first, I'm making sure that I'm not slumped down in this position. I've pushed my hip away and I've got this nice triangle between me and the mat. Inhale to prepare. Remember, inhale to chest and belly. Exhale, squeeze the knees onto that ball. Draw your magnets together. Lift through pelvic floor and feel that strength in your midline. Inhale, soften. Exhale, squeeze, wrap the abdominals as you do so. Lift up through pelvic floor. You'll get the best connection when you combine all of them. One more like that. If you're ready to move on, then we do the next with the raise into the side plank. So exhale, we lift. Inhale, we lower. Exhale, we lift. Inhale, we lower. Exhale, we lift. Inhale, we lower. Nice work. Couple more for me. Fantastic. Good, and allowing yourself to feel the waist joining in, like I said before, kind of getting everything to work together as it would in real life. Okay, finishing with the one that you're doing, just take yourselves down off of your elbow, and we're going to do a couple of those thoracic openers. So hand resting on my ribs, I'm going to inhale, open my chest towards the ceiling, and I'm using this hand just to assist me a little bit, just pulling me in the direction I want to go. Exhale, come back. So really thinking about the more that I can fill my lungs with that deep inhale, the better. It helps to get that sense of opening that I'm looking for. And exhale back through. Good. And as you open, I'm sort of saying to assist yourself, don't force yourself into positions that are like genuinely uncomfortable. So you can be on the edge of some discomfort, sort of as if it's like, you know, mobility wise coming to your limit, but you shouldn't be in any kind of pain or anything like that. So do listen to your body. Really nice work, and we've just got a couple more of those to go. Great work, well done. Okay, so finishing where you're at, bringing yourself up then, let's have a little change of our position. So we're going to come into a seated position, but you're going to sway your hips over to one side. So this is called your mermaid pose. So windswept legs, they come to one side. We're going to work with the movement that feels most natural. So we're going to side bend away from the feet now. As we're there, take that breath in. I'm really breathing into my right lung. And then I'm exhaling, I'm coming back up and through. We're going to do 2 more of those. So inhale deeply into I'm using my right lung, but whichever lung is on the right side for you. And exhaling, coming back. Nice. And 1 more of those. Really looking to make that a true side bend. So make sure you're not leaning forwards or backwards. Perfect. And now we're going to go the way that's not quite as natural. So I'm going to take that hand in at my waist and I'm going to go the opposite way. So I am now working towards my feet, breathing into my left lung. And exhale, come up. Lovely. Inhale. And exhale, come up. Good. So it's almost like we're just unlocking some of that restricted movement, or unlocking that pattern of pressure that is not distributed well through our core. Really lovely. So when you finish, we're going to sweep the legs. We're going to go exactly the same on the opposite side. So over into my side bend, breathing into my left lung now, the one that I'm opening, and then exhaling, coming back. Inhale deeply into that side and exhale, come back. Really nice work. And then straight away sweeping over into that movement that's not quite so natural, moving or bending towards your feet, breathing into the lung that you're opening, and exhale, come through. Good. And again, maybe just pay a little bit of attention. So for me, immediately it's like significantly stiffer or tighter for me going this way than it was on my other side. So it's helpful for me just to make sure that I'm aware of that and I can work into it using my breathing to give me a little bit more freedom with my movement. Fantastic. Okay, so we're going to take our bands now and we're going to do a little bit of work now, just bringing our strength back into our core. So really try and have that awareness that when we've released a lot across here, it's quite common that you feel then better connected through your section here. So let's see what happens. So if you've got your band, you can use it to apply some tension. Some resistance sometimes helps fire us up. If you're using something alternative like a towel, even though you won't get the stretch, the opening, you can still use it and pull onto the towel, and that will create a sense of like connection and tension as well. So do what you want to do. So for that reason, I'm going to double up my band because I quite like a feeling of having to really work into it. So I am going to check that I feel that I've got my ribs and my pelvis aligned here. So I don't want to start in this like arch position. I want to start where I feel like my ribs and my pelvis are stacked. And actually, as I go through the movement, that connection is really key. So as I come to my position, I want to make sure that I'm not arching through my spine. I've kept a nice neutral spine. So from here, inhale, come back. Exhale, pull apart on the band, wrap those abdominals, lift through the pelvic floor. Inhale, come back. Exhale. Inhale, come back. Now again, for some of you, and this is why I love this movement so much, you may only need to move the tiniest amount to feel that fire up your connection through here. For some of you that are a little bit stronger, you might find that you go much further back through that motion and you can keep that sense of strength and connection along your midline. Remember what I talked about at the beginning. It is really natural after pregnancy that you're already slightly out of sync. So having this longer abdominal line and this shorter posterior line. So the whole purpose of this exercise is we shorten the anterior line, we have an equal anterior and posterior line, and you are moving through the motion in a way that allows you to keep that neutral or that equal alignment. So the minute you lose it, you're not achieving anything through the diastasis or through your core generally. So have that in mind as you work. A couple more for me, because it feels like it's something that allows you to get a nice sense of your core working. Finish with the one that you're doing. Really nice work. And then just pop your bands down for a moment. We're going to finish just coming up into standing. So bring yourself to your mat in standing. Let's see if we can apply everything that we've learned to a movement that you're going to be doing all day, every day anyway. So inhale, sit your tailbone back as if you're finding a chair behind you. And as you exhale, push through the heels, clench through the back of your buttocks like you're pulling the back pockets of your jeans together, and at the same time draw those magnets together underneath your belly button. When I've come to the top, my pelvis, my ribs nicely aligned. Inhale, take yourself down. We're deliberately going quite slowly to start. Exhale to the top. Take your fingers to your midline. Inhale, taking yourself down slowly. Exhale, let the exhale last all the way through to the top and feel your connection through here as you do so. Okay, if you feel comfortable with it, you can speed it up if you want to. You can play around with all of the different variations that I use in some of my other classes. So you could choose to go right up onto your tiptoes. You could go for a quick one coming up, whatever sort of feels right for you. Let yourself finish off the session with something that gives you a little bit of a endorphin boost, kind of gives you that sense of, whew, I've worked. You're going to have a couple more moments working there, finishing with the one that you're doing, and then lowering your heels if you're not already there. Come into standing, bend the knees just about a quarter squat. Take your hands, slide them down the front of your thighs, find them resting on the front of your knees. And we're going to just finish with a little bit of that mobility through the thoracic spine again. Inhale for me, allow your breastbone to shine forwards. And then exhale, round through the back, draw your belly button towards your spine and round the upper back. Inhale, shine the breastbone forwards. Exhale, round through the back. Inhale, shine forwards. Exhale, round through the back, drawing your belly button with you as you come into that curve. Round forwards. Finish the one that you're doing. And then finishing your session, feet hip distance apart, weight equal through left and right foot. Just soften the back of your knee to stop you going into that posterior tilt, anterior tilt I should say. So just then rocking the tailbone towards the floor, hips, ribs, shoulders aligned. And that's perfect, you're done. Really nice work. Thank you for joining me, those of you that are here live. For those of you that are doing a catch-up, that's the end of the workout. What I'll do is I'll add in a little bit of a response to some of your questions as a separate video for you to catch up on in your own time. Thank you.